Alright, I admit curiosity got the better of me. I'm only human. I want to see if I can eke a little bit of life out of this. The set's got a fuse, my PR57's got a fuse, I got a voltmeter monitoring B+, so I think things will be pretty well protected. I hooked up a little bench test speaker here, so maybe we can hear a little sound out of that. And, well, without further ado, let's see, I got the voltmeter, right, going to pin 8 here, so should see some action pretty quick when I turn this on. And, no. Which could mean the 5U4 got fried. Or I don't have good connection somewhere. Let's try it again here. Alright, so, oh, there we go. It's going. It's going. Should get to about 360. Doing better than I thought it would, and I can see the tube. It's not red plating, it's not arcing over. Just crackle out of the speaker. Fortunately, with this picture tube being kind of shot, even this high voltage may very well make it a raster. And with the tuner being stuck, I can't really tune anything in. Turn it off now. Sometimes when things collapse, you get a little bit of indication on the CRT. Alright, well, not too exciting, but at least it turns on, and we now know that we get B+ under load okay. And nothing's terribly shorted. I suspect some of these power resistors could very well be open. I'm actually feeling them now. And 2 of them are warm. 1 is kind of cold. 2 of them are kind of cold, so they might be open. And horizontal oscillator might very well not be running. I can grab a high voltage meter and check that easily enough. But until this tuner gets fixed up, we're not going to tune anything in, so I don't know if there's a whole lot of point in me proceeding any further. We're trying to power this up. Well, things just keep looking better and better. I worked at the tuner, and it started moving. It's now rotating quite nicely, and it works just as I surmised. So as you rotate it around, it kicks this switch over. I think that might be the band switch to the upper and lower VHF. And if we keep going to the very end, it does flip over that switch. There's the phono mode. There's a couple switch actions in there. One of them, I'm sure, is the one that kills juice to the high voltage, and one is for switching from low to high band. So, pretty nifty stuff. Alright, well, might as well try powering it up again and see this time if I can tune anything in. Again, keeping an eye on B+ at all times. Seem right. Well, it would seem I killed the original 5U4, probably because something's drawing too much current, likely a filter cap. Just popped in another one. And if that one goes too, then I think that's a pretty good indicator that I should just stop until I track down the source of the trouble. Let's see. Well, this seems to be holding for the moment. volume up all the way. See if we can tune anything. Yeah. It's faint. It's probably the FM radio band I'm in right now. Or it might be the one VHF transmission we have left on channel 6. And no picture, no indication of an image whatsoever. Alright, well, one thing I want to do is get this picture tube out of here and use a little test CRT. It'll save me a lot of weight as I'm working on this chassis and shifting it around, and see if we can pick up an image and test the high voltage while I'm doing that. I got the old picture tube out of there and installed a little 8XP4 little CRT meant for bench testing these early rectangular sets. Now, one little issue with this is that there's a grounding strap here riveted to the yoke support that comes right out the side, right up near where the high voltage connector is in this test CRT. So that's why I've got it propped up at a bit of an angle so things don't arc out. It's going to be a little annoying during testing, so the picture is going to be kind of wacky. But anyway, do one more power up. Let's see if we get any high voltage. If not, or well, regardless, I think it's time to start working on things. Also, now I can see what tube this is mushed over. 6BA6, yeah, that's about how tall they are, so I think that's just the way things are going to be with that tube. It's going to be a little mushed over. Okay, so one more power up test. Alright, some crackle out of the speaker, but no image whatsoever. And now I got a high voltage probe here. I can test things a little bit. And no, absolutely no high voltage whatsoever. Can also peer down into the high voltage cage, and there's zero glow underneath the 1B3 high voltage rectifier. Horizontal output tube isn't red plating though. So couple possibilities. One, the horizontal oscillator's not running. Two, that kill switch might not be working right. And there might be no juice getting to that tube. Alright, enough. I know that all the critical components are good up with the exclusion of the flyback and the yoke, but replacements for those I think could be found if necessary, so I'm going to proceed with recapping. And I might as well start in the horizontal circuitry. Here's a quick progress update. I've replaced so far 3 of those crumbly old corroded power resistors. It's nice new ohmite vitreous enamel, high quality power resistors. Got one more to go up here. And I'm focusing on the horizontal circuits. So here in this ceramic base that's got some rubber mounts is a horizontal oscillator. They do that for stability to reduce microphonics and vibration from the chassis hitting that tube. And damper tube and horizontal output tube. I want to replace this stuff. And this is the filter cap on the boost circuit, which picks off some voltage from the damper and uses it for the vertical circuitry. Now you may have noticed that I'm not restuffing the caps. Well, yeah, I tried, and the tubes were just disintegrating on me. So I don't think it's worth the time and effort to do so. Plus, there's going to be new components that are going to be very visible anyways, like these guys. And new resistors. So I'm finding a number of these white resistors are pretty far out of spec, and same with the carbon comps like this. 5.6 was measuring about 7, so Replacing those mostly with these guys, with their Vichy metal film. They may look small, but these are 1 watt and these are 2 watts. I really like these. In large quantities, very economical, and they have decent quality leads on them, and good stable resistors. So that's what you'll see throughout here. I got a few more to go in here. Just about to put in a new 0.03. The original was rated for 1,000 volts. I got this Panasonic here rated for 1,250 volts. Going right there. I want to clean up a few of these parts in here. Replace this guy, a few of the resistors, and then try powering it up again. Okay, I finished work up in the horizontal area. Now, more typically, I go through and do a full recap, because it takes a bit of time for me to tie up all the loose ends and try to do a power-up as I'm going. But I also recognize that it's more interesting for the viewers to see some incremental progress. So I'm pretty sure I got things buttoned up, including installing a new 1/4 amp fuse in the flyback. This one tests okay, but it's kind of corroded, nasty looking, so I pulled that out. So I got my test CRT reinstalled, got it plugged in, and we're going to give it another try here. And as before, I'm going to cut the lights down a little bit, and I want to watch that 5V4 rectifier when I turn it on. Good, no flashover. And there's the horizontal output tube. I want to keep an eye on that. Making some sounds I don't think I heard it make before. But no hint of an image. I'll get out my high voltage probe again and check on things. No hint of any high voltage whatsoever, so I thought I'd throw a scope on the grid of the horizontal output tube, see if the oscillator is even running, because if it's not, then that is certainly going to be a problem. So let's check that out. Well, there's certainly something going on there. Yeah, that looks promising. And let's get a little frequency check on that. A little high, it's 16 kilohertz. And it's about 40 volts peak to peak, which seems like a pretty healthy, strong horizontal output. So why no high voltage? Could be a high voltage rectifier tube, although those generally don't go out, but it's certainly not impossible. Could be a bad horizontal output tube. Could be a bad flyback. We don't even want to think about that, because that is worst case scenario. So let's do the obvious things first and check the tubes inside here. Well, all 3 tubes tested very good. So I cleaned them up and put them back in. Well, all 3 tubes tested very good. However, I could not see a filament glow in the high voltage rectifier. Now, sometimes that can be really hard to see. So to eliminate it as a possibility, I just popped in a new old stock one. Let's give this another try. Also, wouldn't be the first time I've seen just simply removing the tubes and reinserting them making a difference. That's still nothing. Well, 0.17. It should be like 170 volts, I suppose. So, well, there's still other things it could be, like not enough voltage getting through it, or that fuse may very well have blown that I installed. One thing I can tell you for sure right now is that I did check for the 280 volts on pin 8, and it did measure good. So let's take a quick look at that fuse, and if that's okay, then I'm going to expand my search outwards. That includes checking the continuity on the flyback. Well, I didn't find any problems. All the voltages seem okay, but I've been running the set a little bit lean, so I turned it up to more like 120, and then I started hearing some arcing. Let's see if I can make it happen again. Yeah, hear that? And that's actually arcing inside of the high voltage rectifier. So what I think is happening is there's a short somewhere in the output lead. And this wire does look kind of sad. I'll show you when I flip the chassis down. There have been some repairs, like a splice and some tape wrapped around this cord. So if I'm lucky, it's just simply there's a short somewhere. And also the doorknob cap could be bad, although I've never ever seen a bad one. This high voltage filter cap here, but see, that suggested all the time maybe there's shorted high voltage cap, so it's not impossible, just I personally have never seen it happen before. I moved the high voltage anode lead around. Didn't really seem to help much. There's definitely still some arcing going on down around inside that tube base. But I was able to measure about 1,000 volts. So it's definitely trying. So that's the official ring. It's damaged. So the next thing I want to do is what I usually do on these sets earlier on is to clean all around down in there. This one just looks so clean I didn't think it was going to be much of an issue, but what can often happen, I can even see some debris down in there, is that the high voltage attracts dust and such, and it can actually form a conductive path. This metal ring down around here is supposed to help prevent that. They call that a corona ring. Keeps kind of an equal potential around the base of that high voltage rectifier. Well, what I'm going to do is take the screws that hold this box on and get this whole thing out of the way and really get down in there and examine things more closely. I undid the electrical tape on a high voltage lead and found a splice, which is a pretty good indicator that somebody had taken this cover off before, because to get the cover off you either got to cut this wire here or undo the suction cup at the other end, which you can do by heating up the center and pulling out the conductor. A little bit cleaner way to do than splicing the wire like that. Well, anyways, cover's off, so I'll get down in there. You can see it's kind of fuzzy and dirty. I haven't cleaned it yet though, because I want to see if that indeed is where the arcing is going on. So let's power this thing up again. Put the cheater cord back in. I can't quite see, but something's definitely arcing. Well, it's still inside the tube. Well, yeah, it just might be that high voltage cap, which is this thing down here. I do have others. I could certainly replace it. Well, it seems my new old stock tube has formed a crack, and some air probably has leaked in there. So I switched back to the original high voltage tube that came with this set, and now I'm reading about 6,000 volts. So I'm not sure exactly what problems I was chasing. So originally this tube seemed to be arcing, which may very well have been from dirt and debris down there. I popped in this tube, which may have cracked because of the arcing inside, or maybe this was just a bad tube that had gotten kicked around and cracked at some point. At any rate, let's see. Play around with these controls if we can actually get an image now. There's a little faint something, maybe. Yeah, it's definitely coming from this. Couldn't tell if it was a shadow or not. No, I got that electromagnet on the neck, which I know causes problems with these test CRTs. These are self-focusing and they actually don't need this, so looks like I can take a screw off of either side and just take it and set it down. I can't disconnect it because this is part of other circuitry and needs to be wired in. Alright, got that out of the way. Give this another try. I gotta be super careful. I mean, none of this stuff is protected. I got the splice there. Can't get close to the grounding strap over there. And hey, we've got a raster. Sweet. Brightness control, I presume. And this must be horizontal or this must be vertical on the outside and horizontal on the inside, I'm guessing. Cool. Alright, static reception. Clearly have some issues there, but that is some reception. The vertical's really whacked out, but that's pretty common when set hasn't been recapped yet. This vertical circuitry is especially sensitive to bad electrolytics. But hey, definite progress.